That's Nick.
And that's Joseph, and today we're here to talk about Greed, the newest film from director Michael Winterbottom, which opens on February 21st, 2020. It premiered at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival, and Sony Pictures Classics is distributing.
So the director is a notable, busy director.
He's a very notable, very busy British film director who's made films all over the world. He's pretty much had a film or two every year since 1995. I think 2007 was the last year we didn't have a Michael Winterbottom somewhere in there.
That name.
He often works with Steve Coogan, who is the star of this film as well. If you've seen 24-Hour Party People or Trystam, Shandy, A Cock and Bull Story, or any of the three Trip movies that have been made to date. So this film was originally supposed to star Sacha Baron Cohen as a man, as a business magnate who is supposed to be kind of like a British Donald Trump. Coogan's performance is modeled after Philip Green, and his teeth after Richard Carring.
So the story revolves around, it's kind of like the telling of this character's life and how he rose to become this like retail giant. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of it's told in flashbacks revolving around his 60th birthday party, which is this lavish event that's occurring in Mykonos, Greece. So I don't know where to begin, because this story, there's a lot going on. It feels like it could have made a great mockumentary, which halfway through was my thought. And it's funny you mentioned Sacha Baron Cohen, because Isla Fisher, his wife, stars in the film. But also I thought, had he done it, I think it would have taken me where I needed to go. This film feels like it wants to be dark. It wants to be gritty and satirical, and it just doesn't go there. And I think the main reason for that, from my perspective, is as like an LA person. The character Steve Coogan plays, whose name is Richard McCreadie,
Greedy McCreadie.
He just seems like every other motherfucker in LA.
Yep, that's for sure.
You know, whether they have money or not, they think they're somebody. So he didn't seem that like villainous or he just doesn't seem that awful.
I mean, he is awful. He's vile and he's very easy to hate. But
is he vile? He's just greedy.
He's greedy.
I mean, literally the title of the movie, but it's like, I don't think he's any different. So there are a lot of things happening in the film, because the character has 3 children, one of whom is filming like a reality TV show. So we see like this reality TV show being filmed within this story. Then McCreadie is being he's not under investigation, but like the British government is questioning him about his business dealings, which are very shady, but not illegal.
Correct.
So they're kind of making like an example of him. But he just seems like every other person we see on the news who's like bending the rules but not breaking them and making all the money off of it while we all struggle. So it doesn't feel like so out of place.
And the 60th birthday party is supposed to be this grand spectacle that's bringing back like the Parthenon. The film Gladiator seems to serve as a backdrop in this man's mind.
Another concurrent feature is that he has a biographer
played by David Mitchell,
who is attempting to just absorb him so he can write a novel. I think that character and that performance are the best in the film.
Yeah. I think that the statement that's trying to be made is by them kind of mimicking these Greek mythological. What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
I think they're trying to show that a civilization that was on the brink of demise, we've swung back that way in that access.
Yes. Sure. The symbolism is there and it's obvious and it works. So there's a character. He has, obviously McCreadie has a team of people helping him in every aspect of his business dealings and also in planning the party. One of them is a woman who I'm assuming is from Sri Lanka. Is she Sri Lankan?
She's Sri Lankan, yeah.
So a big part of his rise to success is on the backs of these people working in these sweatshops and making all his cheap ass clothing. And many of his shops are in Sri Lanka. And then he has this I think is like the worst sort of plot point. He has an employee who I'm not quite clear what she does for him. She's assisting with his party, but it also sounds like she knows about his business dealings. But he has an employee whose mother and aunt work in one of his sweatshops. And they're not his sweatshops. Like he explains to the government, I just buy my stuff from them. I don't own these places. I just buy their cheap shit. So there's nothing wrong with that in his eyes. But then his employee from Sri Lanka explains to the biographer that there's this tragic story of way back when one of the sweatshops caught on fire and her mother died.
Well,
it's a longer story.
Her mother was fired from one of his sweatshops for working too slow.
She kind of, it's like a domino effect that because of him, this thing happened, which to me is so stupid. Like,
it was too convenient and I think unnecessary.
To me, that's like because Obama played basketball in 2003, my car ran out of gas yesterday. Sure. It just seems like such a stretch.
The tagline for the film is "The devil is in the retail," which is a nice pun, but there is not enough devil in the detail here because this is a film that seems by 2019 and 2020 like too little too late almost. Like if this had been made in the 80s, maybe this would have seemed edgier than it is. Or
even when like low budget, like there's a name for this, like flash fashion, or there's some name for like H&M, Forever 21, Fashion Nova, like this super cheap clothing, like on trend, you only wear them twice. I think if maybe even like 10, 15 years ago, when those brands became popular, this would have felt like,
which is funny,
like enlightening.
While I was watching this, I thought of a couple Italian filmmakers, like Matteo Garone's Gomorrah, which connects mobsters in Italy to the fashion industry, and that was 2008. And I think that people lost their minds over how relevant that was. But I also thought of Paolo Sorrentino, particularly something like Great Beauty, or more likely even Laurel, about these aging, rich Italian businessmen and their decadence and how they're kind of collapsing in upon themselves. And
but he's not even, that's the other thing, like to be called greed, he's not even that lavish or extravagant. And that might have been a function of the budget and like the production, like what they had at their disposal.
Sure.
But his party, like the movie revolves around this lavish party. When it actually happens, there aren't that many guests. It looks kind of like not that big of a deal. He builds a coliseum to replicate like the gladiator fight, and he has a lion,
which ends up being.
So to spoil the film, he ends up that Sri Lankan employee of his ends up releasing the lion while Steve Coogan's character is in the coliseum alone. And the lion was fed cocaine by another character. So the lion's hopped up. She opens the gate knowing that it will probably attack the main character, and it mauls and kills him. So the film just doesn't seem that.
It seems like
he doesn't seem like that. He just seems like someone who loves money. There are a few scenes, like his wife, played by, or his ex-wife, whatever her role is, played by Isla Fisher. We see a scene where like she's decorating his new office, and they talk about like, oh, these are like real dinosaur bones, but we don't see like his home. We don't see the kind of cars he drives. We don't see any really excess, except that they tell us like, oh, he took 800 million and 1.2 billion, and it just feels like everyone else. Like living in LA, it just feels like you see it all the time, like people just robbing Paul to pay Peter and stealing from the poor to give to the blah blah blah. Anyway,
also the soundtrack selections I thought were made it seem kind of hokey as well too. Like Money's What I Want, like, is in there.
Money from ABBA.
Yeah, and it just.
It feels real basic, real superficial. Steve Coogan, because
I like Steve Coogan.
I do too, and the movie he did with Paul Rudd,
Ideal Home,
I kind of felt like that characterization would have worked well in this film. Like he needed to be flamboyant and over the top, or because I even thought of Richard, who's the man who started Virgin? That British billionaire who started Virgin. Richard whatever, Sir Richard blah blah blah. Even he's like so charismatic and so Steve Coogan's characterization, he just seems like a dick.
Yeah,
But like,
he is.
but no different than the fucking manager at Office Max, or you know what I mean? Like he's not. He says he calls people cunts a lot and idiots, but it's like, and that's the other thing. It's 2019, 2020. How is this character behaving like this? Like, does the UK not have like HR and?
I mean, I'd still take this person over Trump.
Yeah, he's not vile enough at all. The comedy's not dark enough at all. So one of his sons, his name is Finn, played by
Asa Butterfield.
That character clearly is in so much need of attention from his dad, and at one point like talks about how he wants to kill him. He needs to die because he has this Oedipal complex.
Yeah.
And it just goes nowhere.
It does, and it's very lazily rendered, it feels like. And I think that a lot of the supporting characters are kind of lazily rendered, such as Erica, the Sri Lankan, who conveniently pours her heart out to the journalist right before, the finale.
Yeah.
And then after the demise of Greedy McCreadie, like, she ends up in
So she is the worst part for me, because then this bitch, after she kills McCreadie, she ends up working in like a sewing factory.
Yeah.
So then I don't understand, like, what does she do for him that this bitch had to end up working in a sewing factory?
And I mean, I'm sure she could qualify for a school loan to go back to school. Like,
they have free culinary programs. They're free. Like, I don't understand.
It feels.
And even like, so he has this interesting relationship with Isla Fisher's character, who is his wife, and they may be divorced, where they each have their own like younger, like he has a young girlfriend, she has a young boyfriend, and they seem very well adjusted.
Kind of.
Like, they all work together quite well.
Although there's he's on the precipice of like kind of coming back to his wife. And it's funny, I put in the beach bum for you the other night, and I was reminded how Isla Fisher's character in that is very similar to what she's playing here, actually.
I would give this film 2.5 out of 5 stars.
I think 2.5 out of 5 stars is fair. I liked it more than I disliked it.
Yes.
But still, for being as relevant as it still is, it just should have packed more of a punch.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Winterbottom, extensive filmography. I think he's a director that's easily taken for granted because of his output. But I tend to compare.
The battery's gonna die. We have to wrap it up.
Oh, I like it when he's a little more genre oriented. So compared to his debut Butterfly Kiss or Code 46 with Tim Robbins, or his remake of The Killer Inside Me, where Jessica Alba gets infamously beaten to a pulp. Those are at the pinnacle of his powers, and I just think it could have been a little
still dying.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.